Hey everyone, John here, and 2023 has been an absolutely nuts year for games, and one of my most anticipated games of this year has been WarioWare Move It. Let's look at the inside. Boom. And the reason that this is one of my most anticipated games of this entire year, a year filled with Zelda and Hi-Fi Rush, is because of this. WarioWare Smooth Moves. Probably one of my favorite games of all time. It is just so wacky and fun, mixing the unpredictability of WarioWare with the infinite approach of motion controls. A game can be anything. But Smooth Moves, as great as it is, was limited in many ways. It was made for just the original Wii Remote, no motion plus, no one-to-one motion. So you basically have pointing, you have waggle, you've got a little bit of direction. That's really all you have in those games. And they did incredible stuff with those limitations, but they only really embraced the nunchuck in the final chapter. Maybe 15 micro games use the nunchuck? So it was mostly a one-handed affair, and with what they did with that, it was incredible. But Move It unlocks all the potential that was missing from Smooth Moves. Now, every micro game has one-to-one motion plus motion. There's also, pretty much every micro game has two Joy-Con in hand at a single time. It really feels like not just more WarioWare Smooth Moves, but the true successor to it. And I am so glad that it turned out to be good. Because this really is one of my most cherished surprises of this year in terms of video games. And I'm so happy that it's good. It's a good video game. Now let's answer a few questions. Is WarioWare Move It worth it from a single-player perspective? Now, it depends what you want out of the game. If you just want to finish the story mode, you are looking at a game that is under 2 hours long. So if that's all you want, if you just want to reach credits and put it on the shelf, you probably won't get that much out of it. For me, WarioWare has always been a game that I find a lot of replayability in from a single-player point of view. So first you finish the story, you play all the micro games. But then, my favourite thing to do is just to see how far I can get in a New Game Plus story level. Because usually you get to micro game 16, you do a boss, it's over. But if you replay it, it just ramps up in speed, just gets gradually faster and faster and faster, until you get to ridiculous speeds. And when playing that way, you also get new variations of micro games, you get new patterns on the bosses. So there is a lot more in there, if you want there to be more in there. But obviously if you don't, if you just kind of want to be like, I'm done, then yeah, not very long. But I do think if you're like me who likes just replaying the story mode missions, then yeah, this is absolutely worth it from a single player perspective. There's some of the most in-depth WarioWare micro games that you've seen in the series so far. Which is both a good thing and also kind of to its detriment. So I think, the best part of Smooth Moves is every micro game, it can be anything it wants to be, right? It's not just press the A button, press the D-pad. It can be a big range of motions. But because it's kind of limited to the standard technology of the Wii Remote, it never got too out there. Whereas Move It does, sometimes. And I saw some reviews saying that WarioWare Move It had bad motion controls, which gave me a bit of a heart attack. Can a follow-up to one of my favorite games of all time have bad controls? No. I don't want to undermine them, but I feel like they're mistaken rather than wrong. I think if you don't fully understand what the game is asking of you, you will probably not do the input you're meant to do. So there were definitely one or two micro games where I had to give them a second attempt to understand what it even wanted of me. And one of them was a Bakar one. So for those who don't know, Bakar, you put one Joy-Con on your nose, one Joy-Con on your back, and one micro game asks you to march. And I was like, what do you want from me? And it turns out what it wants from you is to go, shift hands, like you're marching, like you're going like this. Which, yeah, makes sense, but Smooth Moves never did anything like that. Smooth Moves gave you a form, like the remote control, the saw, the mohawk, and when you had the remote up here, you were never expected to put it down there. Breaking form was illegal. You should never break form. But in Move It, yeah, you are expected to break form on multiple micro games. So if you don't expect the game to want more of you, then yeah, you will probably think the controls are unresponsive. But most of the time, maybe there can be technical issues, but I think 99% of the time, you probably just aren't grasping what it wants. So, in my opinion, if you want to just like test yourself to get as far as you can in these story missions, and then Move It is brilliant. I think the controls are great, the variety is spectacular, 9 volts levels, as always, are a delight. But weirdly for 9 volts levels, all the Switch era stuff runs at like a slideshow for some reason. And WarioWare's never really done that before. Like, they always, if anything, they made games run smoother than they're meant to, like with Star Fox in 9 volts missions and Smooth Moves. So that was a bit strange. All the other era stuff, like DS era stuff, runs really smooth, but Switch, for some, like the Metroid Dread 1 and Animal Crossing, they're all like half rate, which is, it's weird, but it's whatever, yeah, it's fine. I also really like the IR camera micro game. So you put like, this has been used in a few games, like in Brain Age, but you basically put your hand like that, and for the Fire Emblem game, you've got to move your finger closer to catch the ring, or sometimes you got to hold up fingers to answer a question. That's all really cool. And by the way, I've not put straps on my Joy-Con since launch. Like, I'm pretty sure that we all used the Joy-Con grip for the first few days, and we all put the little straps on. But I've not done this in God knows how long. But boy, I'm strapped up. I'm strapped and ready. And the reason I'm strapped and ready is because some micro games want you to be strapped and ready. They say, hey buddy, strap up. And so you got to put these straps on your hand. And sometimes they'll say, drop them. And I think Smooth Moves had a micro game like that, but you could just pretend to drop it. You can't pretend to drop these ones though, because sometimes you've got to go whoa and catch them. Sometimes you've got to go whoa and pretend you're lowering them and bring them back up. And I like it. I think it's cool. And you basically play the game like you're playing ARMS almost, with them on their side like this. So wearing these straps really does make them fit into your palms a bit better too. So all in all, I think this game is so fun. It has so much variety. It has so much unexpected fun and appeal. And the cutscenes go back to the gold style. I think Get It Together didn't have voice acting because it was done in the COVID era. Whereas this, we're more or less back to normal. So we've finally got those fully animated, fully voiced cutscenes with a brilliant cast. Like, we've got like big names like Christina V. Like, it's just so cool having them all back again. I do miss that we can't record our own dub like we could in Gold, but I guess the Switch doesn't really have a microphone to enable that. We could have used the Nintendo Switch Online app, though, couldn't we? I don't know. So, another question though. What if you don't want to play on your own? What if you want to play with people? What if you're a sociable person? Then yes, this also has something for you too. So before Get It Together, WarioWare didn't really do co-op much, like two people playing simultaneously the same micro game. But there's a lot of that in here. In fact, in the post-game, there's a bunch of levels specifically made for co-op. But there's also all these other multiplayer modes. Like, there's one mode where one person stands by the TV with the Joy-Con, and they can't see what's going on. And the other person has to stand opposite them who can see what's going on, and they've got to do the motions, and the person with the Joy-Con has to try and mirror them. Like, there's cool little party games like that. There's also a mode where you have to, like, guess who was actually playing, so everyone has their own Joy-Con. And they're playing along. You've got to guess who's actually getting their inputs registered on the screen. There's just a bunch of really cool party games like that. And honestly, I can see this having a lot of replayability down the line. I can see this just coming out whenever friends come over. It's what I wanted it to be. It's the successor to Smooth Moves in every capacity. In Japan, it's called Super Smooth Moves. If you love the original Wii game, then yes, you will adore this game. It goes further. It has more complex controls, has more complex micro games, has more complex multiplayer. But is it better? Is it a better game? And in my opinion, probably not. I know I've been singing its praises up until now, but I think the simplicity of Smooth Moves just made the flow so good. I think anyone could pick this game up and understand it in a moment. Whereas with Move It, I think if you had a friend over who's never touched this game before, and the game says to them, do the big cheese, they're gonna say, what? And they just go! There's a lot more to learn. There's a lot more positions. There's a lot more things to do with your hands. I think this is great if you play the story mode yourself, because it does become second nature. But there is less just immediately to learn. And sometimes you will have to play micro games more than once to fully master and understand them. So they do different things very well. I think Move It is still one of my favourite games in the series, absolutely. But it doesn't quite top Smooth Moves. And it probably doesn't top Gold either. But it's a good top 3, which is high praise, because WarioWare is one of my favourite franchises out there. So to be the 3rd best in a series of nothing but greats and snapped, it's a high honour. So yes, I like WarioWare Move It. I think it's one of the coolest games of 2023, not necessarily the best game of the year, but a game that made me very happy this year. So thank you for watching, everybody, and let me know what you think about WarioWare Move It in the comments below, and I will catch you next time! Bye, everyone!